Good afternoon, good evening, wherever I am finding you on this Facebook Live broadcast. It is day 5 of the 10 Days of Lightness. And I welcome you here into this space of sanctuary today. And I'm coming to you today at a different time because I was finishing up coursework this morning. Hello, Mitra. So lovely to see you here. And thank you for all of your offerings in this 10 Days of Lightness. It's been so wonderful to feel this community growing and to be able to, in this time when we are isolated, many of us, or, it's such an extreme right now because many of us are either isolated and asked to stay home, or there are the others. The other side of this faction is people who are going to work, and frontline healthcare workers, people who are working in essential services in stores, that their lives are at this heightened state of uncertainty and long hours and deep intensity. So for this stark contrast of those people who are in the workaday world with really extreme challenges and fraught with so many difficult decisions to make, and then those of us who have been asked to stay home in this very unusual time, find ourselves with much time on our hands. So I feel that those of us who are literally holding space as we are in isolation, we can see this as deeply challenging, but it is also an amazing opportunity with this gift of time to perhaps document, express how we're feeling, approach our days in a different way that we might not have had the opportunity to do so before. And for me, what I was doing this morning was finishing up coursework for a memoir writing course that I've been taking. And I'm going to add into my website page, where I have resources for resilience, the website for my wonderful memoir teacher. Her name is Alison Waring, and she was for many years based in Stratford. She teaches courses locally here where I live in Stratford, Ontario, but she also teaches in the south of France and Mexico. Currently, of course, she's not doing that right now. So I began this cycle. It's the 3rd time I've taken this memoir writing course with Alison. I love it so much. And I've taken it usually sitting around a beautiful dining room table with her, where we interact and we share our writings. We began this session of coursework doing the memoir writing in that way, but then midway we had to shift to an online platform. So we've been meeting by Zoom. So today's theme is writing our story. So because I was on week 6 wrapping up my memoir coursework today, it really brought me into feeling and experiencing how important and valuable it is to write. And whether that is an expression of a journal, or you may have a journal that you use as a place where you can go and share your innermost thoughts that's just for you, or a gratitude journal where you document and take stock of the day at the end of the day and really bring focus and energy to that which you are grateful for. Because what we focus on expands. And so often, especially in the midst of times of turmoil and crisis and chaos, we can really be focused on all that is upsetting and unsettling. And even in the midst of deep, dark times, this is 10 days of lightness. So we are mining the gold of these dark times. So writing our story is an opportunity to reflect and bring to the page the richness of our experience. I don't know whose quote it is. I'll have to look it up, but it's coming to me right now that this beautiful quote, we write, taste life twice. We write to taste life twice. And when we have those of us who are being sequestered and have this opportunity to reflect, it really is a rich time to put pen to paper, or whether it's a keyboard you use. You know, many years ago, 15 years ago, I think it's more like 18 years ago, I did the Artist's Way, the beautiful book and program by Julia Cameron, and I highly recommend it. I know that you're watching this, Mitra, and I know that you did the Artist's Way years ago, and two of the things that Julia Cameron recommends in the Artist's Way are morning pages and artist's dates. So right now, we can't go on too many artist dates, either in public or with other people. But we can still be really creative and clever and find ourselves, you know, the idea of the artist date is to nourish and nurture that playful side of ourselves that when we grow to be adults, we get very busy in the workaday world. And we can get so caught up in our to-do list that we get weighed down by that. We really, as artists, and every human being on the planet is an artist. You know, you don't have to express your art through a canvas or an instrument or in public. Every act of, you know, curating a beautiful meal, creating a beautiful meal, the curating of a gorgeous garden where you choose certain colors, flowers to be side by side in your palette. However we bring in that essence of our creativity, that nourishes us and it lights us up and it connects us to the fire of our passion. So the theme today, writing our story, is using this time of groundlessness, of really open-ended schedules, to anchor in with writing your story. And I'm coming back to the fact that my session today is a bit later because I was wrapping up my memoir writing course. So I'm going to put the link to Alison Waring's online writing course. Her website is Memoir Writing Inc. INK. I believe it's .com, but I will again put it in this thread and also on my website in the resources for resilience. So I've so enjoyed working with Alison, and I want to begin. I'm going to be sharing something that I've written recently in Alison's class as an invitation for you to explore writing for you, and also the invitation for what you may write can be an offering, a gift. Maybe there's somebody that you can't have physical contact with right now that you would like to give a gift to, something really unique and precious. And we'll get to that in a minute when I get to the piece that I wrote for my mom for Christmas, and it was exactly that. But I want to begin today with a poem that I wrote a little while back on this theme of writing. And it is called Writing a Hunger. Words float. The scent of garlic sizzles in the pan. A swoon of butter tilts my tongue towards the page. A hunger like no other. Fingers click on the keys and feel the taste of the poem as it washes through me. Curry crackles. Coriander calms. A sensual blurring where flavors and colors and touch is a sound. Seeds popping in the oil and the words landing somewhere between the page and the pan. A hunger like no other. A drumbeat on the door of my heart opens the gates to this music that marries words and scents. An appetite for ink. Sit at the table with this banquet of words. Hear your belly rumble. Write it down and make a feast of your life. So feel into that, where that lands on you, that idea of making your writing a sensual feast of your experience, of your completely and totally unique experience. You know, that's the amazing thing about each one of us. We are all here on this planet with our experience completely different from anyone else. And that is why our art, however we offer it as professional artists or as anyone in the world who has the sensory experience, we are all here alive on the planet right now, experiencing such a profoundly different story than we could have even imagined a few months ago. So the theme today, writing our story, I wanted to create and curate this series of the 10 Days of Lightness. And if you go back, starting last Friday, I'm weaving in some spiritual practices, some yogic breathing practices of pranayama. I brought in some Sanskrit mantra and some wisdom teachings. And each one of these offerings, day to day, is an offering for you to be able to create a space of sanctuary where you can not only retreat, but begin to build circuitry for deep resilience in yourself and radiance. The very first day we talked about trees and how in a time of drought, how they send their roots deeper into the earth, like this heat-seeking device, a water-seeking device, looking for the water table, you know, in the time of drought. And in this time, you know, all of our usual experiences, our daily round, the framework of our coordinates that have felt safe and what we know to be true in our lives, you know, all bets are off. Right now, everything is such a different axis that we wake up to every day. And really, for those of us that are sequestered, we have this blank canvas. Many of us may have tasks to do within that day, but within this blank canvas, coming back to the theme of writing our story in this profound, deep pause that we're having right now, given the opportunity to write a new story, as perhaps if you are stepping back from, as many of us are, from work that we've usually had, relationships, any of the things that we've known that have filled our days and given us meaning, that we're right now being given the opportunity to cultivate a completely new story. So today, on the theme of writing our story, I want to share with you something that I wrote at Christmas for my mum. She doesn't need a thing, my mum. And I'm sure many of us are feeling this right now, that our world of materiality and so many things that we have chased and acquired, filled our spaces with, when we are at this time of a global crisis / opportunity, you know, we can't go to the stores and purchase things in the same way we could. And perhaps we're finding, I know I am, that there's so very little we truly need. And perhaps we're taking an inventory of what brings us joy and meaning. And so at Christmas time, I know my mom doesn't need a thing, not another gadget or tchotchke or sweater or anything. And I was about to begin my third round of this memoir writing course, and I thought back to what my teacher Allison had given us as an exercise, and I offer it to you. She said, one of the best ways as a writing exercise to tap into your creativity is to write something from the point of view of if my parent, my mom or my dad, was a food, what would they be? And in our class today, another one of our participants who was an English teacher said she used to give assignments to her kids. If I was an instrument, or if you were a musical instrument, who or what would you be? So to use this writing exercise as a way in is really kind of fun. So I want to share with you the gift that I wrote for my mom at Christmas from the point of view of this writing exercise. If my mom was a food, what would she be? And in the case of my sweet mama, she is Ukrainian. And she comes from a long line of hard-working Slavic people who, at the essence of my mother, I think of her tenacity and her amazing resilience and her love of creating food for us that she could prepare with so much love and care. And so when I began, hey Cam, so good to see you there. I'm going to read a Saskatchewan story. So when I wrote this for my mom, it was, if my mom was a food, she'd be a pierogi. The perfect comfort food, a pocket of dumpling perfection, savory and simple, handmade with love. The kind of food that sticks to your ribs, lands in your mouth with a buttery, smooth richness, and reminds you of home. Home, love, comfort. Food to get you through the long winter. A delectable morsel of mother love that is halfway between heaven and the fields of sunshine that grew the wheat, fed the cows to make the milk, and press the cheese. If my mom was a food, she would be a cheese and potato pierogi. Savory and spectacular, a marriage of earthy goodness and gastronomic grace. The flavors of her Slavic roots, food that carries the nourishing song of hard work and faith in the harvest. A love that sings through the kettle as the tea is made, to sip as loving hands press the dimples into the flesh of the pastry, sealing in the goodness of the sumptuous and satisfying filling. One by one, each pastry pocket carrying an offering of love and sustenance. Deceptively simple. Extravagantly rich and delicious. A reminder that good things often come in small packages, and that the simplest fare, shaped and filled with motherly love and devotion, nourishes more than the body, but also the soul. If my mom was a food, she'd be a perfect plum pierogi. A recipe handed down from her mom, my Grandma Mary. An unusual pairing of sweet, sour, and savory. A surprise burst of purple plum sunshine, a fruit jewel picked at the height of summer, bursting with musky, sweet flavor and unexpected delight. Not at all what you'd expect from a pierogi package. Dessert deliciousness masquerading as an ordinary supper. That is my mum. A divine dumpling. a polished pearl of handmade perfection, a daughter of the sunshine and rain, from a lineage of hard-working hands that drew sustenance and strength from the land and fashioned it into nourishment and numinous faith to carry forth this seed of love. If my mom was a food, she'd be a pierogi. Savory, sweet, surprising, rich and rare in simple ways, and extravagantly satisfying. And most of all, the joy of wanting one more, maybe two, because they are just so good. Her ineffable joy, luminous laughter, her indomitable strength, the way she would tuck a love note into our hearts every time she would tell a crazy, wonderful story. We want one more because they are so good. If my mom was a food, she'd be a pierogi. Ah, and there's Diane, yes! Our Ukrainian mamas, beautiful. And there is something so incredibly beautiful about these simple acts of love. And certainly in my life, watching my mama make these pierogies, you know, there's so many steps to them, making the pastry and creating the filling, whether they were the savory fillings. Like most people know about the cheese and potato and bacon pierogies or onion, but okay, who among you, tell me in the comments, have had a plum pierogi? Have you had a fruit pierogi? Because I think these are the really rich, truly sort of that contrast of the savory pastry with the fruit filling with butter on it. Okay, am I making you hungry yet? So I'm sharing with you today on the theme of writing our story, this pierogi poem that I wrote from my mom at Christmas. And as I mentioned at the beginning, some of you are just coming on the call now, that I'm finishing up my third round of a memoir writing course. And one of the exercises is to write about one of our parents or siblings or a friend, that if they were a food, what would they be? Or if they were an instrument, a musical instrument, what would they be? So I'm dropping this into your awareness today as an invitation that not only to spark your creativity, but if there's somebody that you're missing, somebody that you'd like to connect with in a really unique and meaningful way, write them a love letter, write them a story about if they were a food or an instrument or whatever metaphor you might like to use. Find your way in to send them some of your love as we are separate from one another right now. I've really been finding the richness of tuning in to this time of, you know, expansive openness that sometimes can feel groundless. That if we can find a point of focus through our artistry, through our creativity. So today that theme is through writing. So play with it, have fun with it. See if there's a way you can find your own story to craft through delivering through this metaphor. And I'm sure that there's somebody in your life that you love that you could send a creation, a love letter of this kind to. So today, on this theme of writing our story, there is a feeling of, right now, of such openness, of uncertainty, this, you know, certainly tapping into the field of a free-floating anxiety. And I know for myself, as I've been tapping into some of the very real stories of people who are out in the world, you know, particularly today, the story that I want to bring at the close of our circle today is offering a sound prayer for people who are in long-term care facilities and the residents and all of the people that are showing up to work there. because I feel like in our population right now, there is such a vulnerability, such a tenderness, such a, it's hard even to put words to the feeling that we have for these people that are literally locked in and dependent on the care of others, and those that are providing the care are stretched physically, mentally, emotionally. The resources are stretched. So I wanted to, by way of offering a prayer, a love prayer sounding heart to heart. This is a track by a beautiful artist, Shannon Day, and it's a layering of sounding. There's no words. So I want to bring this track into our circle of 10 Days of Lightness. It makes me think of the beautiful author, Andrew Harvey, who is a mystic, an author. He has translated a lot of Persian poetry, Rumi poetry. And Andrew Harvey wrote a book several years ago that I have on my bedside table called The Hope. And it is a beautiful, poignant writing. Andrew Harvey being a profound sacred activist. He says, how is it that you will bring your light to the world? What is it that wakes you up in the middle of the night? Heart pounding. And it is that which breaks your heart that is your sacred activism. It is that which calls you to move from that place of despair or anguish. That is the place where compassion is born, is birthed. But when it is such that it cracks our heart wide open, that we feel compelled to act, that is our sacred activism. That is the space of grace where we move from a thought to a feeling to a deed. So I've really been wanting to tune in every day to where we are all as a collective. You know, maybe you, even in the comments, you want to pop a word in there as to how you're feeling. What is the thing that cracks your heart wide open right now? What is it that is your sacred activism that you are called to offer your light into the field? And I say the field because right now we are, many of us, unable to meet physically, but we are energetic beings. Our energy field is so vast and profound, and when we connect in with our thoughts, with our intention, we have the ability, we are telepathic. You know, you can see through synchronicities that are showing up in your life, that you can have a thought about somebody and then they call, or you can have a thought about something that you wish to bring into your life, something that you're just finding you're interested in, and you start to Google it and you start to bring energy to that, and all of a sudden, you know, there's something that pops up in your life that's exactly on that subject. So we are quantum generators. We are, as human beings, thought that becomes word, that becomes deed. So it's so important to be parenting our thoughts well right now, and to keep our thoughts in a place, in a high vibration place. What does that mean, high vibration? Another day, I'm going to be bringing in David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force, and we'll talk exactly about the scoring of emotional states. So when I talk about keeping your vibration high, it means moving from lower vibrating frequency states of fear, anger, to, you know, in the middle is neutrality, and moving up as we move higher on the scale And we move into a place where we can actually be in equanimity and non-judgment. And then higher on the scale, where we can lift the feeling within us, our thoughts, which become our emotions, electric and magnetic. If we can be anchoring a feeling of peace and generating a feeling and an experience of unconditional love for all beings, then as we elevate within ourselves, we literally become a conductor of this energy and a transmitter of this energy. So that is how I'm bringing this idea of us sounding together today, because we are here, there, everywhere, in our own spaces. And through the power of our intention and our focus, and sound, which is a wave, which will carry this intention, I want to offer this today, this offering of song love, of sound light from each of one of our hearts, which is a massive generator. Our hearts, when we are in coherence, and that simply means when our brain and our heart are in a state of coherence where there is no discord, we're not feeling anxious, we're not feeling depressed. When we're in the Sanskrit term, it would be in the place of sattva, which is the place of balance. When our heart is open, and you can literally feel it right now. Breathe into your heart space and allow all concerns, because in this space and time right now, if you are with me, and there's nothing burning in your kitchen and no one's knocking on your door, and if you're feeling fine and well, honestly, in this space and time right now, all is well. And you are safe to open your heart wider and wider to become a conduit for this powerful love and compassion energy that is at the heart of it, the generator of the grace that is the force that will shift our world, that is shifting our world. So I want to bring into our 10 days of lightness today a sounding for anyone who is feeling alone, afraid, in pain. Anyone who is experiencing this time right now as deeply challenging. And I especially want to bring today's sounding to long-term care homes, to seniors' residences, for residents, our beautiful divine elders. You may have someone in one of these homes. And all of the workers who are stepping in daily into the front lines to provide loving care to our elders. I'm going to take a moment to really, really honor the people who are in these situations, both the elders and the caretakers and the administrators and everyone who is running these spaces of care of our elders. So if you would be so brave and bold and wildly open-hearted with me to play with me in this space of sonic prayer, we're going to be sounding together to this track by Shannon Day. And it is without words, it sounds. So wherever you are, you can close your eyes. And if you can, I'm seated on the ground because I like to feel grounded. And thank you for all of you who are present right now and offering your comments. I'm going to come back to reading them. Yes, Holly. Rather than reflecting on the fear, anger, and distrust, I choose to share my light And yes, absolutely. Every time we pivot from feeling contracted in fear and all the places that will take us, that drain us, to expand, to grounding ourselves, to be a conduit of this light, this love, that as we sound together now, let's send it from our hearts out into these long-term care homes, to our elders, to the workers, to everyone present there, and also to anyone that would benefit from receiving this offering of our love and compassion. So finding if you'd like to just simply drink in the sounds with me, or if you'd like to sing along, all that is asked of you is to feel your heart open with deep compassion. This is a very angelic sound, so it will help to open our hearts to those who are suffering and who are in pain, and perhaps readying to leave this planet at this time. And so we wish to bring lightness to those who will feel this transmission of sound and love. Let it be a prayer of light, an offering from our hearts. Thank you. Thank you for joining me in the heart of grace, of offering our sonic prayer, intentional sound, to all who could really use a hug right now. Arms around them to hold them in their pain or their suffering. See the field of light and sound that we just created together, heart to heart, on those angelic tones, rising and rippling. And you can guide your sound simply with your intention and your thought to whomever you wish to bring healing and blessing to. So I thank you deeply for joining me here today. We are 80% water. And as an element that flows and moves, we are essentially vibration. So if you think of yourself as this element, this frequency of love, that when we add the sound of our voice, we are literally generating, through the combination of light and sound, we are generating a formidable frequency of healing, of love, of compassion that can be felt wherever we direct it. So thank you for joining in today. And the theme today of writing our story, however that may be, it may be pen to paper, it may be using your voice in a way that you haven't before, authoring a story of generating compassion and love and care in ways you hadn't imagined that you could. Because your heart is an exquisite engine of healing. And your voice is a generator of vibration and frequency. So experiment with offering your sound, love, your song prayers. You may want to, in meditation or while you're walking, perhaps it might be in the forest or in the bath, close your eyes and begin by offering yourself the sound. Because as soon as you begin to sing to yourself, it is like an inner massage, and you can feel it in yourself. You can begin to feel yourself relax, and you are literally building circuitry, generating light and sound within every cell of your body that is listening. And we are either, experiencing frequencies that are distorted and jagged and filled with fear and uncertainty and discomfort. Those frequencies are also coming towards us right now. But to be able to pivot to a place where you can generate the softness and the sanctuary of your own heart, this sonic prayer, you are literally becoming an instrument of peace. You're becoming an offering of this frequency of benevolence. It's so simple to love ourselves and love each other, and especially when we add sound to our intentions. So thank you for joining me today. So grateful to have had you here with me, and we will meet again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be at the regular time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you. Much love to you, and be well, be safe until we meet again. Much love.